Howdy howdy, my name is John, and this video is the Anything But Books tag. I was tagged by Robin Lloyd, and I'll provide a link to his video as well as the original creator of the tag, her video as well. The first prompt is name a cartoon or cartoons that you love. I'm not going to try to limit it to just one, but back when I was a kid, way back in the olden days, we had 3 channels on the TV. Cable TV wasn't really a thing yet. And cartoons were pretty much limited maybe to afternoons after you got home from school, but Saturday mornings, that's when the cartoons came on. And that's when the good cartoons came on. Talking the Transformers, talking G.I. Joe. Now you know, and knowing is half the battle. Here's one that you probably never heard of, but it was called the Snorks. It was a group of aquatic creatures that had snorkels for noses or heads or something like that. And of course, I can't forget the Smurfs, but the one that my friends and I still talk about are the Looney Tunes. Can't go wrong with classic Looney Tunes. Question number 2. What is your favorite song right now? Again, I'm going to cheat and actually give 2. I've really been digging a country artist that I discovered on YouTube. I've not actually heard her on the radio. My favorite song of hers is Country Girl, and the artist is Caroline Jones. And I'll provide a link to her video in the description. Here lately, one video that I always seem to click on every time I see it show up in my recommended, it's by Katie Peterson, accompanied by her brother. Again, I'll provide a link in the description below. Question number 3. What could you do for hours? Well, obviously I could say watch TV and play computer games, but the original tag creator kind of dissuaded that idea. So I'm going to say pull weeds. Now, I know what you're thinking, but if you've seen my weekly update videos, you know that sometimes I include pictures of the flowers that are blooming. And those flowers don't get to be that pretty without spending a lot of time pulling weeds. And I know some of you are thinking, well, that's a great time to listen to audiobooks. But not me. I actually find that listening to nature is much more relaxing. It gives my mind time to kind of wander where it will. And really, I'm the type of person who would just prefer to stay indoors and keep my nose in a book. But I found as I've gotten older that getting outside is, actually good for you. So it gets me outside. It gets me to enjoy the clean air. So that's going to be my answer for this one. Question number 4 is, what is something you love to do that your followers would be surprised by? I bet most of you think that I drive a boring 2002 Dodge Neon. Well, actually, I do drive a 2002 boring Dodge Neon. But I also own a 1972 AMC Javelin AMX. I'll put a picture up just so that you can see that that may actually surprise you that I own a cool car like that. In case you're wondering, it's a 360. No, that's not a Chrysler 360. It's an AMC 360. The transmission, though, is a Chrysler. Question number 5 is, what is your unnecessarily specific favorite thing to learn about? I'll try to keep this brief, but for some reason, I'm fascinated with first-run syndication. Back in the late 80s, between the time when we switched from having 3 networks to 6 networks, which got cut down to 5, and And before we started to have original programming on cable TV, we had what was called first-run syndication. Basically, if a broadcast TV station is not affiliated with one of the major networks, they buy their television in the syndication market. Most syndication is reruns, but some TV shows were called first run. The most famous of these, at least for the nerdy crowd that I run with, is Star Trek The Next Generation. At some point, I may make a whole video about this. If that's actually something you want to see, let me know in the comments. Because, again, I know way more about this than anybody who's never worked in television should have. Question number 6, what is something unusual that you know how to do? Again, I've mentioned before on this channel that I'm an engineer, and I used to work with electric motors. And one of my most important job functions was to know the temperature rise of the motor. Now, when you're dealing with temperature, you're dealing with degrees. Typically, I dealt with degrees Celsius, and even sometimes it was weird that I would have to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius. But anyway, if you ever look for the degree symbol on your keyboard, it's not there. On a Windows computer, to get the degree symbol, what you do is hold down the Alt key, type 248, release the Alt key, and voila, you have the degree symbol. Now there are other codes that will bring other symbols on a Windows computer. I'm going to have to look up the code page that will give you the table of characters that can be done this way. And I think you can do this with Unicode as well. Unicode's kind of the standard for computer code now. Question number 7. Name something you've made in the past year. I believe it was last Christmas a buddy of mine gave me this game right here, The Walking Dead, The Prison. And you can tell the artwork's actually based off of the comics, not the TV show. The problem with this game is the rules are terrible. So I made my own rules. Question number 8. What is your most recent personal project? I've actually been going through my parents' old photographs and scanning them into my computer. That way I'll have a digital copy of them. And I've found some real gems. I'm going to put some pictures over to the side here. Yeah, I've got pictures from the late 1800s and the early 1900s. Question number 9. Tell us something you think about often. Well, life, the universe, and everything. Well, what else is there to think about? Question number 42. Question number 10. Give us something that's your favorite, but make it oddly specific. Well, hopefully this counts, but I'm going to give you my favorite quote from my favorite movie. So, my favorite movie is Dragonheart, starring Dennis Quaid and featuring Sean Connery as the voice of Draco. And my favorite quote from that movie is, "Dreams die hard, and you hold them in your hand long after they've turned into dust." The last question is, say the first thing that pops into your head. Yeah, see, that's the problem with something like that. You give me a question like that and my mind goes blank. Just blank. Alright, it's time to tag people. So, I'm going to tag Rose from Rose Above It Reads. I'm going to tag Emo from Awesomely Emo. I'm going to tag Sarah from Literary Lives of Sarah. I'm also going to tag Rob from Rob C. Reads. For the last tag, I've watched a few of other people do this tag, and for some reason I keep seeing one comment coming up. It's, I couldn't possibly do this tag. My whole life is books. But I think the lady does protest too much. So I'm going to tag KC from Lost in a Bookcase. I really think she's just begging somebody to tag her. So, if I'm wrong, she'll just ignore me. But you know what? I'm going to tag her. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.